How's it going, everyone? It's your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself, Robofiends. Check it out, another build for you all. Today we're going to be looking at a quad. This is a very special quad build for me. Like I've been using this quad through my New Game Plus and New Game Plus Plus playthroughs, if you will. There was a biped I was using for speed's sake, but for the most part, this was the main unit for that. So what I want to give you guys, this is my personal build. This is a personal build, but I want you all to understand where I'm coming from with this, so that way you yourself can make your own quad builds if you kind of like the way mine is kind of fitting. Without further ado, let's go into it. Again, this is a general purpose kind of build, if you will. Full quad. So the weapons, we'll talk about that later, but this is up to your own spec. What I want to talk about realistically is the actual build itself, the legs, arms, core, head, and as well as the rest of it, of course. But of course, let's talk about the legs. It is a quad. As far as this game is concerned, there's only two quad legs, a light, quote-unquote lightweight, and a heavier variant. Now, realistically, there is 100% nothing wrong with these legs, the real legs. These were actually the legs I was using before until they gave us these. And truth be told, again, more truths being told here, there's honestly not much of a difference. There really isn't much of a difference. Even if you look at the specs on it, like, okay, first, because it's heavier, you're gonna get more defenses, more AP, more certain defenses. That's kind of par for the course and everything. Because it's a little bit thick bodier, you're gonna get a higher load limit and attitude stability. And of course, because it's heavier, you're gonna lose out on the jumping and, you know, all the mobile stuff. But if you look all the way over to the right, if you look at, like, let's say the boost speed, the quick boost speeds and everything like that, you're not losing a lot. And that's the thing. That's what made me run with these for so long. You're not really losing a whole lot. The only thing, if you were losing anything at all, would be the fact that because it's heavier now, you're going to be suffering a little bit when it comes to your mobility, because, you know, the heavier you are in total makes it harder for you to actually move faster. So it's not the end of the world, because to compensate for that, they actually give you a lot less energy load, so that way you actually have a higher output when it comes to your recharge. Well, yeah, your supply efficiency. I was looking at it wrong. Your supply efficiency, so that way when your energy comes back, it comes back quicker, that kind of thing. Because the more overhead you have, the faster it comes back. And we have more overhead now, so it comes back faster. So I was using these legs for the longest, honestly. And it wasn't until recently that I swapped to go for the current ones we're using right now, the lightweight ones. Mostly because I was trying to squeeze that last bit of performance out of here as far as like mobility is concerned. But realistically, as far as this build goes, you can use either of them. None of them are bad. They're both really good. One is just a little bit faster than the other one, and that's kind of it. If you're looking for a little bit more defense kind of play, this is going to be your bet. And you're not losing a whole lot in mobility. Even comes in the description. The Red Guns, Michigan, shout out to my man Michigan, basically held them at gunpoint to make a part like this, while staying highly mobile and also capable of supporting heavy weaponry, which is exactly what this thing is capable of. But for the most part, we're going to run with this one because it's what we're using on this particular build for today. But remember, guys, either of them are fine. If you don't have the lightweight ones, again, the bigger ones are also just as fine. You don't lose that much in terms of mobility, and you actually earn a little bit more as far as like energy efficiency goes. So it can give you a little bit more play when it comes to the certain weapons and other parts you want to use, because you have less EN load. But moving on to the arms, this took... And it's still, like, I'm still at odds ends here. So, the knocked arms are some very decent arms. They were actually some of the first arm parts that I recommended anyone use, because of one thing in particular. It has very high firearm specializations. Firearm specialization, for those who don't know, helps with locking on and tracking your targets when using your bullet weapons. And your target tracking, actually, all the way over to the right, it increases that as well. So if we were to go to, let's say, these arms right here, the first thing you would know, of course, all this blue because the defenses and everything. But what I'm more worried about is your firearm specialization going down and your target tracking going down. I don't like that. I need those numbers to be high. Reason being, even though we're using a shotgun up front, having your shotgun hit to get your actual impact onto your target is hella important. So if your tracking is bad, like you're kind of just shooting out in the dark. Not 100%. You can totally go in here with really low target tracking and still do fine, but when every shot counts, I want to make every shot count, and I want the tracking to be just as smooth, especially when the target starts dancing left and right and so on, strafing. This helps keep your target on, well, keeps your weapons on target a lot easier. Now, when it comes to another set of arms to use, as far as this build is concerned, again, this is my particular build. I kind of squeeze as much out of this as possible. There isn't a whole lot of wiggle room, but as far as wiggle room does go, these are early arms to get. And everyone should probably have these by now. But if you don't, or rather if you do have them, but you don't want to use them, but still kind of want to get similar performance out of it, you can use VP 46Ds. If anything, yeah, you're losing on the defenses and everything. Your arm load limit is lowered as well, so be careful what you actually put on your arms, because heavier weapons won't necessarily work very well for you because it just won't work. But what you do get, you get your cake and eat it too. By that I mean you have high firearm specialization and high melee specialization. Melee specialization is the damage you do with melee weapons, and from 95 to 117 is pretty solid, but from 160 to 133 isn't honestly that bad. Now your recoil control does go up a bit, but recoil controls for weapons that have like rapid fire capabilities. None of the weapons on my AC unit right now has rapid fire capabilities, so it necessarily doesn't truly and earnestly matter. But your target tracking doesn't go down that much either. It's still a 96. High 90 range is really my personal I'm okay with range, and 96 is totally fine for that. But because it's a lighter part and uses less energy, you also go over and you get a little bit more quick boost reload time, the speed in which you can actually quick boost side to side or whatever. It just a little bit, but every little bit does help, of course. And also your supply efficiency, your in-supply efficiency goes up as well. And with your total weight being lowered, again, your AC is just a little bit, just a tad bit more faster and all that. So yeah, that's not that bad, honestly. These are the only two I've found to necessarily work quite well. Mind you, I don't have every part in the game, so if there is another set of arms that work very similar to these two here, then you, of course, you can put those in. But for the most part, the other arms don't seem to kind of quite have everything I need, or rather I want. So like when it does allow you to kind of have your cake and eat it too, there's some stuff about it that just don't necessarily work for me. Like something it'll be just a little too low, or it has a little bit too much drain, so on and so forth. But Fermezza's not that bad of a choice either. But personally, I would still recommend myself going for the knocked ones. But if we are going to pinch, I would go VP 46D. Fermezzas are pretty solid, but comparatively so, I kind of feel like the VP ones would be slightly better in this regard. But of course, Fermezza is also another option. Now, as far as cores go, this was a tough one. As far as cores go, from what I wanted to actually work for me was I mean, APs and defenses and everything is great, but what I wanted my generator efficiencies. By that I mean the generate output adjustment, supply, and booster efficiency adjustments. These things I wanted to be great. I wanted these to work perfectly for me. The defenses didn't necessarily matter, but it kind of helps to have a bit of defense, so I split the difference and tried and use the Mine Alpha. However, if you're just gung-ho for mobility, Alba, ELPC00 Alba are also very good candidates. I was using both of them. I was bouncing between the two, didn't know which one I liked the most. But if you want the absolute best speed as far as the performance that goes with this AC that I'm giving you guys, this is going to be it. You have other ones that are lighter. They use a little bit less energy, but realistically, when it comes down to it, these are probably your better ones if you want to go lighter, less energy, because nothing really kind of works in the way in which I want it to. So if you're looking for Mezza, which is a very lightweight part, it is technically faster, but the problem we're having here is your quick boost in consumption, and what was it? It was another thing with the boost. Yes, the Ian charge delay. So certain things are just going down a little too far, which I didn't necessarily feel comfortable with actually having. So I just had to opt against these particular pieces. But with Alba and Mine Alpha, these ones I truly and earnestly felt give more to the build. And I didn't want the Ian supply efficiency to go too low, so I'm okay with this part in particular. Any lower than this, and I just wouldn't feel comfortable with it at all. It does reload pretty quickly, but like using this part right here, it almost feels instantaneous. So once you get over that 4,000 Ian supply efficiency mark, it feels great. Right around 5k, it's just real nice. So I'm a sucker for it. It's why I'm using this part on this particular build. But of course, you can also use this one. I recommend this one. There's also means to use Fermezza. I've been using Fermezza in other builds as well. Very decent cores, these three here. But if I wanted to go as bulky as I could, it didn't care too much. Not bulky as I could, but as bulky as I felt comfortable going with, I may go for this one here, because all my other booster stuff is totally fine. The only thing we're really going to lose out on is the fact that we're heavier, and when we're heavier, we're just going to lose overall boost speed, quick boost speed, and the quick boost reload time. That's the one right there. 0.65 is probably as high as I feel comfortable going. Anything more than that, 0.7 might be okay, but my comfortability isn't necessarily helping in this particular case here. And also, like, we're just getting slower for just, when you look at it, just a tad bit more defenses. So it's honestly the big jump between this one and this one, in my earnest opinion. But nevertheless, this build is going to be with this one or this one, either which are perfectly fine. I still haven't figured out which one I like the best. I do like this one a lot because it gets the higher EN supply efficiency, but realistically this one allows us to move faster. So let's just put this one on for the time being as far as the build is concerned. Now for the head component, this is tough. In Armored Core 6, heads are very not great. Their uses are very slim. So scanning is hella important back in the day, not so important this time around. So all the head is really used for is just completing the build and some attitude stability. So if you're just not caring at all about attitude stability and you're not caring about scanning, go for the car head. You get it like super mad early. It's like chapter 1 unlock. Everyone should have it. Or if you're not feeling that, I was using Finder Eye, which is another one you unlock pretty early if I'm not mistaken. This is the one I would use if I was actually doing things, like if I'm going through the PvE, doing the things I need to do the things, I would use this one because it has better scanning potentials, as well as, I don't know, attitude stability, because you're fighting a whole bunch of things. You don't want to get staggered every 15 seconds fighting random little ground units. But if I'm going against like maybe a boss or whatever, like I know a boss is coming up, or maybe even PvPing, I would use this one because there's literally no downsides to it. Yeah, you're losing out on AP and such, because you do have heads that give a ton of AP, but realistically, I don't know. The heads are not as important as they used to be. So I boiled it down to using the car or Finder Eye. For this particular video, we're going to use the car, but again, like I said, Finder Eye is just as good because it has low weight, relatively low weight I should say, and low EN load compared to like the others. So in comparison, it's either they have less EN but they weigh more, and you know, either have they weigh less or have more EN, that kind of thing. So I just kind of figured the Finder Eye would be a pretty decent balance between the two, but for this case we're going to use this one here. Now as far as the mobility stuff goes, the booster, this booster, I would usually use this booster. This is my preferred booster, it truly and earnestly is. But the problem with this booster is if you look at the quick boost reload ideal weight, that's an issue. The heavier your unit, the harder it is to actually quick boost consecutively. Now if this particular booster is on a lightweight unit, my quick boost reload time would not be 0.86, it'd be like hella high, it'd be pretty sick, and that's what I usually use with this one if I'm using a lightweight unit. But because it's a heavier unit, as far as my heavier ACs go, I use this one instead. It does give me more thrust, which is technically it going actually faster, but it loses out in a couple of things, of course, like well, the aforementioned thing I just spoke about actually. But for the most part, raw power, you kind of get this with it, and I'm totally okay with it. In retrospect, I would probably, like, again, use lighter units because I just like to go fast and be able to boost better. This one will allow you to do that, but only if, like I said, your AC is below a certain weight. Because once your AC starts getting heavier, the heavier your AC is, the harder it is for them to move. And this part right here, this booster, really relies on your AC being relatively light. Whereas this one gives a lot more leeway compared to, like, basically most of all the other ones. Now there's some, like this one, we could be like hella heavy. But as far as like a high performance booster goes, this probably is the best one for the power to weight ratio, if that makes sense to you. Now we're gonna look at the generator. This is, if you can have an argument as far as like the single best part in this entire game, this generator is in contention. Like straight up, this generator is basically perfect. It does literally everything. I see no reason to change this generator out for literally anything. Like, I don't. I will probably, you know what, one day I will, but as it stands right now, I'm not going to. This generator is just godlike. Everyone knows this generator. If you're not using this generator, put this generator on one of your builds and let me know how it feels. You're gonna love it, trust me. This is just the god generator. It's a god part. Triple S tier part, in my opinion. And the FCS. It was this one for a while, but then I swapped to this one. I'm not sure which one I like. Oh wait, no, excuse me, this one. I'm not sure. No, it was this one. I'm not sure which one I like the most. This is of course cake and eating it too, but it also allows us to lose out on our close range assist, which is what the shotgun and the melee is necessarily for. But we have, you know, our multi-missile lock correction applied, which is useful because we're using a 6-cell missile launcher. So it's up to you, depending on what you throw on the back, in my opinion, is what it really matters the most. But I like to have as much close range as I can. Not really, but I like to have a decent amount of close range because shotguns are in the meta, and that's what's on this particular build. So we're going with this part. Is that everything? Oh wait, the weapons themselves. So we're going with the Zimmerman. I'm not explaining a Zimmerman to you. You should know what a Zimmerman is. We're going with the laser lance. The laser lance is sick. It's sick. Oh wait, what'd I do? Wrong button. Yeah. Laser lance is sick. Let's take a look at it though. Laser lance, you hold it down and it charges at your enemy. Honestly, I use this not necessarily for damage, even though it's very good when it comes to the damage. I use it to correct myself to the enemy. A lot of times enemies are flying and buzzing and flipping and flopping all over the place. If you have a decent lock on and you punch this and you hit them with this, you're gonna immediately laser homing on to them. And then if you hit, you hit, and then you can follow with not just the laser lance itself, but whatever's in your other weapon or your other arm or whatever's on your back. It just helps me, it allows me to turn my brain off a little bit. Like press button and it just go burr, honestly. And I can like not have to think as much, and the battle just almost immediately turns into my favor. It packs on a lot of impact, so let's say you pepper them a little bit with like a missile or a shotgun blast here and there. If you get this full laser lance attack to hit, the full charge, they're gonna be stunned. And what good is a stun AC unit? Basically nothing. I'm gonna make a video about the ACS system, what I think about it. Is it good? Is it bad? It's both of these things. But once you do stagger them, you can either A, hit them with the Zimmerman, or B, hit them with the Songbird. Everyone should know about the Songbirds right now. They are the second, I think, no, the first grenade cannon you get, but in my opinion, still the best one. You do have Earshot, which is this weapon is dummy strong. It's mad strong, but its drawbacks hamper everything else about it back. And the drawbacks is the fact that it's just much bigger. In comparison to that of the Songbird, it's just a bigger thing. And usually it comes with a few pluses, of course. The biggerness of this particular weapon means it does more damage, it does more direct, like when the opponent is staggered, the more damage when they're in that staggered state, does more damage there. Has a longer range, but everything else, whoosh, poop. And honestly, I didn't like that. We're already kind of heavy, so I decided to go with Songbirds because they're lighter. They do not just as much. Well, they do the justice. They do the justice. Now on the other side of that, we have missiles. So missiles are whatever suits your fancy. I really like vertical missiles, but I'm bouncing back to your standard missile variants. This is a 6-cell missile launcher. It's very nice. It's quite nice. The thing I like about it the most is that the velocity of the missiles is quite fast. And that's a huge plus for me, because the faster missiles go out on track, the easier they are to actually hit their opponent and forces your opponent to do things like move. And when you move them out of an advantageous situation that they were in, it forces them on the back foot and you can capitalize on that mistake, which is kind of why I use missiles for the most part. I don't use them for direct damage unless I'm doing PvE. PvE, I use the Zimmerman, then I use the Songbirds, then I just use missiles to like clean up the groundlings or whatever. But if I'm versing like a boss or I'm using PvP, the missiles just to keep them like off balance, so to speak. So as far as they go, I like this one. There's also vertical missiles. Vertical missiles are great. They're just kind of heavy. Where are they at? Oh, I just passed them. Yeah, maybe not this one. This thing is sick. I want to find an actual good use for this thing, maybe on like a missile boat build. Let me know in the comments if you want to see me do a missile boat build, because I love using this particular unit right here, but just let me know, of course. But yeah, right now the 6L is gonna do it for me. But with that said, everyone, that's basically this build here. This is my first table, so to speak, my first quad. His name is Exodus. I will put the share code in the description. There's also going to be a tag at the bottom of the screen that shows you the share code as well. So yeah, as far as this goes, this is everything. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care. See you on the next build. But for those who like watching to the very end of the video, this will be the last PvE build I do for a while. Everyone's probably had a chance to play the game. The game's been out for a whole month. As of recording, an entire month to the day. So from here on, I'm going to start focusing on PvP builds, and I'm going to start doing PvP streams. And within those streams, we're going to like manufacture and make these builds, and I'll take on you guys' opinions and whatnot, and then we can like craft builds together. Then I'll make a video afterwards, of course. So of course, if you guys have any requests as far as any builds go, I will make any build that you guys request, like flat out. Okay, I don't care what it is. There could be 100 comments in the comment section, all requesting different builds. I will make every single one of those builds. But I just want you to know, as far as me making builds out of my own dome, we're focusing on the PvP side of things, because I think we've done enough for PvE. And it's kind of something that a lot of people are just gonna want to play with anyway, the PvE, and that's totally fine. There's a ton of builds for them already between me and literally everyone else on the internet. But thank you guys so much for watching, of course, and stay tuned for the future builds. And yeah, take care.